Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy Monday. How is everyone feeling? How was your weekend? So I have your weekly dose of ghost stories and makeup for you today. And if you're watching one of my Monday videos for the first time, you're like, why, what? You know? On Mondays, I tell ghost stories that my subscribers send in to me on this email address right here. Go ahead and send yours. Paranormal stories, alien stories, stories about people that are just a bit weird. And I create a makeup look based around something. Usually it's a way to die, but today we're just doing paranormal. This series is very much based on Bailey Saren's Murder Mystery Makeup Monday. I'll leave a link to her channel below, although I'm very sure you already know who she is. So I'm extremely excited to film today's video because today's video is actually sponsored by a brand that a lot of you were sending me the post for, sending me the pictures of this specific palette. I was like, you need to buy this, you need to buy this. So I want to give a huge thank you to Jolie Beauty for sponsoring this video and sending me this incredible palette. Sorry, I just have to touch this. So I did create a look with this palette, like just for myself because I wanted to use a palette. And let me just tell you about this texture. The texture is absolutely stunning. One thing I really like about this palette is that yes, it's a Halloween palette, but you have amazing blocks of color. You have your green block, purple, which you know I'm going to dig into, not today but later on, and then you have your neutrals and your grays and your deeper tones. So it's potentially also an everyday very useful palette. Now let me just tell you something, the texture of these shadows are absolutely amazing. You'll see that throughout this video, and I'll talk about it as I go and talk to you a little bit more about colors. But one of my absolute favorite things inside this palette are the Chameleon Shades. Let me just tell you, shapeshifter and transform, you can see you can see on Shapeshifter there's like a hole almost in it, because like when I was using it I was like yes, and it was just it's incredible the way it's kind of, can you see it on camera? I guess you can't. Shapeshifter and transform, they are color shifting shades. You can't see it in my light, but transform, so I'm looking at them now. Shapeshifter here, I can see purple, and when I move it this way I see this amazing green. Transform now looks purple to me, and I move it this way and I see this deeper purple going into blue. So they are absolutely incredible, and I'm going to use one of them today actually. The matte shades are almost like creamy when they go on, and the glitters stick on really well. You guys know how much I don't really like using glitters, but I did use crystal ball down here, and I just used my fingertip and it stuck on really well. It wasn't falling everywhere, it wasn't dry. It was perfection. So this palette is vegan and cruelty free, and Jolie Beauty actually did this really amazing reveal video, and it was a video of my Saturday night of me, no, I'm joking. It was like these amazing, like beautiful sorceresses like summoning up this palette, just having like, you know, an amazing sorceress time. So go ahead and watch it. I'll actually link that below because it's so good to watch, and I'll also link this palette below there for you so you can go ahead and check it out yourself. So yes, thank you so much. I'm genuinely so happy to be using this palette for you today. A Halloween palette, completely purple on the outside with amazing purples inside. You know it's made for me. Okay, let's do this. Where's my files? Can I just say also, I am going to get into this actual video. Can I just say, are any of you experiencing Christmas yet? It hasn't been Halloween and I'm getting Christmas things sent to me. I saw, what did I see? I'm getting emails from brands like, get ready for Christmas, and from companies like, it's almost Christmas. Can we just at least wait until November 1st, then go Christmas? Because that's when I'll go Christmas also. I'm not saying everyone do everything around me. I'm just saying wait for Halloween. Okay, let's do this. Let's get in. Oh, so I am going to do an alien today, so but not like full-on alien. I'm not going to be like, you know, that's a robot. I'm not face painting. I'm keeping it pretty because I can't face paint. Okay, just want to zoom in a tiny bit there for you. So our first story today is called Ghost Dog. Oh no, am I gonna cry? Do you know how long it took me to get these lenses in? I don't know. Okay, I'm crying already. Nothing's happened yet. So while I'm reading this story, I'm going to build up the outside corners of my eye with the shade Healer, which is this incredible green. And I might just go into the corners with Powerful, which is almost like this greeny teal. Yes. First of all, I'm so glad I recently found your channel. You explain everything so clearly and your videos couldn't be more helpful. Thank you so much. You stand out as being so effortlessly sweet and trustworthy in the sea of catty makeup YouTubers, even when you do have a few unkind remarks to make. Thank you. I also try not to be unkind. This series is particularly fun to watch, and I hope you don't get bored of it anytime soon. Thank you so much. I hope I don't too. My family had a very large, brown, distinctive dog that we often compared to a bear. At the time this took place, she was around 16 years old and had started to move much more slowly. We didn't lose her until the ripe old age of 20 though, don't worry. Her name was Sadie. Oh, 20, that's amazing. Why am I crying? Nothing's happened. Stop. One evening I was getting ready for bed while Sadie slept on my bedroom floor. I wanted to relax with a film before going to sleep, so I grabbed a blanket, turned off the lights and held the door open for her. In the dim light of the living room, I could just make out the big black shadow as she joined me in the hall. I closed the door and began following her when a sudden scratching on my bedroom door made me stop. It startled me, but we had a couple of cats and I realised one of them must have slipped in there without me noticing. I walked back, opened the door and waited for a few seconds, but nothing emerged. Confused, I flipped the lights back on. There, in the middle of my room, was Sadie. She stood there, staring down the hall and refusing to move. It happened so quickly, but I was certain that I'd watched her walking in front of me. It made no sense. I rushed back down the hallway and into the living room, but there was no sign of anything unusual. Until around 3 months later, when I had almost entirely forgotten this little incident. On a similar evening, I had fallen asleep while laying on a sofa and watching television. When I woke up, I saw Sadie standing in the hallway, watching me. I had pizza for dinner and always saved a crust for her, so I reached for one and softly told her to come over. She made no move, so I thought she didn't hear me, and I called her name louder. Just then, something bumped the sofa, and I heard movement on the floor next to me. I froze, with my eyes locked on Sadie. The light from the kitchen was on behind her, so I could only make out her silhouette, but she seemed tense. Her ears were up and alert. It occurred to me that maybe she hadn't been watching me, but something near me. I tried to tell myself that it was just a cat and I was being silly, but I was still terrified of what I might see next. I lifted myself up, putting some distance between me and the floor, and slowly peeked over the edge of the seat. Sadie. She had been sleeping next to me the entire time. I looked back up to see the hallway was empty. Most of the time I would say that I don't believe in ghosts, but then I remember experiences like these and it seems so difficult to explain them any other way. I found out years later that my sister had also seen the shadowy dog in the hallway on many occasions. Ooh. Thank you for sending that in and not making me cry with a dead dog ghost story. So here's how I feel about that, right? Is I feel like when you have an animal, and it's the same with like when you have roommates or you live with friends or you live with people, you can kind of tell without looking at them who's coming, who walks in a certain way, who runs down the stairs in a certain way, So I feel like if you see the silhouette of a dog, you would be able to tell that's your dog. So here's my theory behind that. Is it something pretending to be a dog and pretending to be your dog specifically? Because I feel like if you were to see a shadow of like a ghost dog and it not be your dog, you would be like, okay, that's not my dog. Like, what's going on? Know what I mean? I always think that because it's almost like it's something trying to take on a form that you find acceptable and you find less intimidating, whether that be your child, which we've had stories about that, things pretending to be people's children, your dog, mimicking the voice of your parents, trying to make you comfortable to almost like lure you into this full sense of comfort and security. I wish my camera would focus properly. You know what it is? I think it's my rings, my silver rings. It tries to focus on the light from my ring. Okay. Thank you so much for that. And we're going to go into an audio story. Now, I just want to say something about these audio clips. They're going to start to be edited down slightly. So, for example, if we get a story, like I do in my own videos where I sit there for a minute and we're going to kind of cut them down so they're not as, they're not as Oh, see what I mean? It's so easy to do. They're not as long, so we're going to cut them down so it's the full story. However, I know some people have commented saying they just like to hear myself and my brother Marcus read the stories. These audio clips save me so much time. Like, you won't believe how much time they save me, not just for the length of a story. When it comes to editing a story that I read takes a long time because it takes me a long time to read because I'm very dyslexic. I think I've said that before. Like, I'm not just saying, oh, I'm so dyslexic, I'm actually dyslexic. So reading a story while trying to do my makeup is challenging. Not very, but, you know, it takes a long time to do. So I can be editing these videos for hours and hours and hours. And they're my least viewed videos. So to have someone send me a clip, a voice clip, or even a video clip to put into my stories really helps me. And it actually gives me the motivation to carry on doing these ghost story videos. So I hope you realize that they're helping me and they're keeping the series going. Okay, so this is our first story.
Hi Robert, so before I start telling my story, I just wanted to say that I love your channel, I love your makeup videos, I love your ghost stories and makeup videos, because makeup and paranormal are the two things I love the most. This is another story and it's not about ghosts, I guess it's about aliens. I don't know. I wanna hear your opinion about it. If you will listen to this recording. So, the story is not about me. It's a story my mom always tells me because I ask her to, and it's about when she was like 7 or 8 years old. So 40 years ago, kinda in the 80s, I guess. She was walking on the beach at night, dinner time, kinda, with her two sisters, her two older sisters, and their dad. So they were walking on the beach, and my mom, as a 7 years old, looks up to the sky and she says to my aunties and my grandfather, "Oh, look at the moon, so big, so bright." And as they looked up, the moon started to kind of get closer to them, and it became obviously bigger and brighter. They don't remember anything about that night after that. After this bright light blinded them, they go back to their home and they have dinner, which my grandma was cooking. My grandma, I think she didn't notice anything weird, and I'll tell you why. It's because my mom, my aunts, and my grandfather never remembered this thing until 10 years later. So I think that if something weird was up with them, my grandma would have noticed. As I was saying, they didn't remember anything for 10 years, not even the night, like what happened with the light, the moon, and whatever happened, I don't know. So they didn't remember this thing until my mom was like 17 or 18. She was looking out the window and she saw the moon. That was a full moon and it was really bright and big. She says that she felt like she was waking up from a long dream, like a 10 years long dream. As she felt that, she turns to her sisters and she says, "Do you guys remember that time the moon was like this and it was coming towards us?" And they actually remembered. Mind you that my aunts are some years older than my mom, so it wasn't like a kid's imagination. And they were like 13, 14, something like that. So they were teens. They couldn't make that up, you know. My aunts felt the same way as my mom, like they were they were asleep for like 10 years because they couldn't remember that night. And we don't really know the explanation for this. Recently I saw a picture that was referring to some conspiracy theory which said the moon is like a giant spaceship, alien spaceship that is spying us to collect informations. And I don't know. I mean, it's kind of weird as a conspiracy theory, but maybe the same thing happened to someone else, and they started to think that as a result of this weird event. I don't know. I don't know what to think, honestly. Is it aliens? Is it something we don't know about? But what could it be? I don't know. Maybe it's an advanced population that is actually spying us. Maybe they're asking, what the hell are we doing? Maybe, I don't know. Well, I would like to hear your opinion about it, and I hope you like the story, and I'm pretty sure you're about to do or already doing a fantastic makeup look. So, yeah, bye.
Thank you so much. So listen, here's my thing. Like you said, I'm sure aliens, if they exist, are looking at us and being like, what the hell? What are they doing? It's really strange because conspiracy theories I don't believe in when it's things like the world's a hologram. No, yeah. But then I do believe in some conspiracies that are more like government based. I don't know. Not that they're lizard people, nothing like crazy like that. That to me is almost like they were abducted and then it was wiped out of their memory. You know what I mean? That's actually an interesting thing. What do you think? Right, first of all, who believes in aliens? Second of all, where do you think they come from? Not the planet. Like, are they millions of stars? Are they living amongst us? If they are, please tell me so I can ask you questions. Okay, I went into the outside corner with this Black Sabbath with this colour Sabbath, which is just black, just to wing it out slightly. I'm also going to take it out on the inside corner here, but I want to do my concealer underneath the eye first. I'm going to go in with Shapeshifter now, which is this amazing purpley green shape-shifting shade. And I'm going to use that on my lid and also read the second story, which is called Married to a Ghost. Sounds fun. Hi, Robert. I love your Ghost Story Mondays. Your story of your friend's wife that died in part 3 of your Ghost Stories videos reminded me of one that my dad told us about his childhood friend. So my dad was friends with a girl and they grew up together. She got married to a man and had 4 kids. His family never came to the wedding. She had never met them and he didn't like to talk about them. When she would ask when she would meet them, he would say something like, one day, or something vague like that. One day, her husband went out to work as usual, and someone spotted him and thought he looked familiar. It turns out it was his uncle, and he was shocked when he saw him. The uncle happened to pass by his house and saw him as he was coming out the gate. He was shocked about this because the man looked just like his nephew that had died 5 years ago. The uncle told the parents of his nephew about it, and they were apprehensive and wouldn't believe him. The uncle and his parents decided to visit the man at the house. They met the wife at home, Dad's childhood friend, with her 4 kids. You can imagine how excited she was to finally meet her husband's parents. They saw the pictures of a couple in the house and concluded that that was their son who died all that time ago. He looked the same way he did when he died. They decided not to tell her and just got to know her. They arranged to come back when her husband was around. The wife told the husband that his parents and uncle came over and would be coming again to see him on a particular day. He didn't say much at that point. The day came, and the husband went out and told his wife that he would be back before his family arrived. The family arrived, and they all waited and waited. He never showed up. He completely disappeared. Days went by, and there was no sign of a husband. The family were convinced that this was the ghost of their son. He died in a car accident. His parents told his wife the whole story, that her husband was dead and that she had been living with his ghost for about 5 years. His one wish while he was alive was to make his parents happy and to give him grandchildren. His parents said that he came back to do that. My dad has said that this kind of thing happened very often where I come from, and he had always heard stories growing up. He never believed it until it happened to someone he knew. So creepy. That is creepy. Can you imagine living with a ghost for 5 years, but also having kids with him? Do you reckon those kids have some kind of superpowers? Like maybe they can walk through walls or, make things, touch things. So, as is custom here on my channel, we now have Marcus reading 2 stories for us. Marcus, go ahead, take it away.
Hi, Robert Welsh. This first story is called Woman in the Tap. Hi, Robert. Just wanted to let you know you are the most amazing makeup artist I've ever come across on the YouTube. So, my ghost story happened when I was 12 years old today. I'm 21 and still remember every single detail about this story. I took a bath around 9 p.m-ish. I've always loved horror and creepy stuff, and always thought about these kinds of things when I was alone, late at night or just before bed. So of course I had all the horror movies I've ever watched in my mind whilst taking this bath. I sat in the bath in a way that the tap was in front of me, and I saw my reflection. But then I noticed a reflection of a woman behind me. I turned around, but of course she wasn't there. I turned back to the tap to see the reflection again. She was still there. She was a very thin woman with a long white dress, and she had dark skin. I was paralysed for a few seconds. I couldn't believe my eyes. I just washed away the shampoo as fast as I could and went to bed. All my friends and family know about this story, but no one believes me. I believe you. The second story today is called The Possessed Toy. Hi Robert, I'm a huge fan of your ghost stories and Makeup Mondays. Also a huge fan of your channel in general. I was approximately 10 years old and it was 1988 when this happened. But the story really starts 2 years prior when I was gifted a sewing machine for Christmas. It was an adorable plastic sewing machine that used the large D batteries and had a pedal that when pressed would make the needle go up and down. It also had a light on the front of it that would come on as the needle moved when the pedal was pressed. I enjoyed the toy for a few months but got bored of it and stored it into the cabinet with the other toys I didn't play with regularly. One day my brother came to me and asked if I had large D batteries for his remote control car, and since I wasn't using the sewing machine any longer, I suggested we take those out and use them in his car. He took the batteries and we stored the sewing machine back in the cabinet with the other toys. Back to 1988. I was sound asleep in bed when I was woken up by a strange sound. It just seemed to be going on and on to the point that I could no longer ignore it. So I got up to see what it was. It sounded like a buzzing sound but muffled. When I got up and looked around, a light from our toy cabinet caught my eye. So I went to see what it was. Me and my brother had several toys in this cabinet, so I was sure one of the remote control cars was being accidentally pressed by another toy. As I opened the cabinet, I saw that the light was coming from my little plastic sewing machine. I was confused. I thought I'd taken the batteries out. I turned it upside down to check, and indeed the batteries were not there. The needle was moving, the light was lighting up, and I was holding the entire thing without touching the pedal. I stood there frozen for several seconds. I could not process what was happening. How can this be working? I asked myself. When it finally sunk in that I was not dreaming, this thing was working on its own, I screamed. I started crying and screaming. I just didn't know what else to do. My mum eventually ran into my room and saw that I was standing with a toy in my hands and could not figure out what was going on. I tried to talk through my crying, and once she understood what I was trying to communicate, she looked horrified. She took the toy and checked the batteries. She then slammed it onto the floor, and when it failed to turn off, she ran out of the room with it. I walked after her, asking for an explanation. I saw her go into the kitchen, take out a trash bag, and throw that sewing machine in there before tying it shut. I could still see the light going, and I could hear the moving needle. She went outside and threw the bag into the trash bin, and then returned to try and calm me down. I slept in her bed that night, but it took a while to calm me. My mum said she could not explain it, and we didn't speak of that night for many years. To this day, we still do not have a logical explanation for what happened. There was no power cord. Batteries were definitely gone, and had been gone for over a year, and no toy has done that to me since. There were your 2 stories for today's Makeup as a Ghost on Monday. See you next week, if maybe.
Well, thank you so much for reading those. And thank you for sending in those stories. There's something about bathrooms and seeing weird like creatures in reflections in bathrooms. Showers I find pretty scary. Don't like to shut my eyes in showers. So listen, I believe your bathroom creature. Here's what I want to ask about the second story. If you have a child, right, and say for example you have a child and they have like a doll or some kind of like figure, and you walk into their room and they're just like playing with it, and then it like turns around and looks at you, but they're not touching it, so they're not playing with it, I guess. But it turns around, and looks at you. What would your reaction be? Like flight or fight? Would you grab it and be like, shit, get this thing out of here? Or would you try and be like really subtle about it to your child and be like, listen, I'm going to throw this away and get you like 20 other toys to replace it? There's just something extremely creepy about toys being haunted. I think obviously because they're meant to be like child friendly. I was just saying that Sabbath, that black shade. It's a really, really nice matte black. And I'm just pointing, I'm trying to get this like swoosh. Okay, so our next story is called Garden Centre Ghost. I like garden centres, so it's better not ruin them for me. I'm a new subscriber from Brisbane, Australia. Hey, Brisbane. My parents own a garden centre that I used to work at around November 2019. Mum and I were working at the garden centre late at night, unpacking a few big deliveries of giftware and statues to get ready for Christmas shopping. It was about 11 p.m. and we had the big roller doors open for airflow, as Aussie spring summer nights can be quite hot. Working away, something caught my eye. I saw a person's shadow moving across an area that was illuminated by lights. I watched it for a few seconds as it kept moving towards me. I spun around, thinking I'd see my mum walking towards me, but no one was there. I ran to find her working on the other side of a shed, quite a distance from where I'd seen the shadow. I knew it couldn't be a customer walking in, as we had the front gates locked. I told Mum what I'd seen, so she came in with me. We went back inside to where I was working, and that's when we saw him. An old man in a brown jacket, long pants and a top hat, what they would wear back in the 1820s. He dipped his hat at my mum and I and walked away. We searched the garden centre and no one was there. He'd vanished. I'd never forgotten what he looked like. Interesting fact that in my mind makes this a ghost sighting. Where the garden centre is located was the area of the first penal colony in Queensland, which is established in 1824 by a group of soldiers, convicts and government officials. Hope you enjoyed our encounters. I think you're really lucky you had like a decent ghost who was like, you know, just a good guy, tipping his hat at you. Rather than like throwing shit everywhere the garden centre, you know. I've given myself like a grey shadow because, you know, aliens and grey. However, I'm just going to warm that up slightly. This is the Jolie Beauty Second Skin Powder Blush. This is a shade of Rendezvous. I've used their blush before and I really, really like their textures and the shades, so I'm just gonna add a little bit here just to warm up that grey a little bit. All right, I'm gonna stick on some lashes, and as we do that, and as I do that even, we have another audio story. Let's go.
Hi Robert, this is my ghost story for your Ghost and Makeup Mondays. Love the series, love. I'm sorry for my English, I'm not actually a native speaker, so if there are any mistakes, please just disregard. So my parents bought a plot of land when I was about 14 years old to build us a new home. Now, in the late 1800s, there used to be a small farmhouse on that plot of land, but there was nothing there anymore when we bought it, or so we thought. When they actually started construction on our new house, they found that most of the foundation of the old farmhouse had remained intact. And they then decided to actually incorporate that foundation into the foundation of our new house. So the new house was actually built on the foundation of the old farmhouse. Now, when we first moved in, nothing seemed to be out of the ordinary. However, as we lived there longer, strange things started happening. We'd hear loud noises every night, like thumps and bangs and creaks coming from downstairs, which we used to just chalk up to the fact that we have two cats who would be having their crazy time. Also, my piano was located in the attic, which was in fact a very light and airy room, not creepy or old or stereotypically scary since it was a new house. However, I didn't like playing it at night because I somehow always felt uncomfortable in that room, like I wasn't alone. So if I did go up there to play my piano during the day, I always felt like I had to close the door to the guest bedroom across the hall because I felt just somehow incredibly uneasy if I didn't. So though most of the noises and activities seemed to take place downstairs, the attic felt the most uncomfortable. So you would hear the most things downstairs, but the attic just had, I don't know, a weird vibe. And there were actually quite a few of our guests who would tell us that they didn't sleep well or they didn't really feel comfortable sleeping up there. Now, also, if you slept in my parents' bedroom, which me and my sister would sometimes do, we would sleep there with our mom, since my dad would often be deployed. He's in the military. And if you were in their bed, you'd stare right at the attic staircase. And for some reason, that just always freaked me out, as if someone was looking back at me from the top of the stairs. Now, what would happen the most, and my sister, me, my mom, my dad, we all experienced this both separately and sometimes together, was us hearing someone else coming home. You know the sound of the key in your own front door. So key in the door slamming shut, footsteps up the stairs, down the living room. When we'd go to check, no one would actually be there. So once when I was home alone for the week, I was taking a shower and I clearly heard people coming in the door, walking to the kitchen. You could clearly hear this upstairs because we had a laundry chute, and I could hear those people talking to each other. And I kind of just figured that my grandparents must have come back to check on me, and they used their spare key. So I thought they were checking on me because they knew I was home alone. So I just quickly popped on my bathrobe and went downstairs to say hello, but no one was there. And I was actually so freaked out that I called my grandparents to see if they had been there and maybe left if they thought I wasn't home. But they were at home and had no idea what I was calling about. On several other occasions, those kind of noises were also so loud and so real that we would call our other family members to ask if they'd popped in and left again, which was never the case. The weird thing is that while I lived there, and in hindsight, I cannot for the life of me figure out why not, but I never felt frightened by this. I just thought it was weird. Now, the most actually scary event happened after we already moved out. So my sister and I both graduated college, and my mom and dad wanted to sell the house since it was way too big for them on their own. Now it wouldn't sell. And to this day, almost 4 years later, it still hasn't sold. People always love the look and design of the house, but they won't buy it. And when asked why, they all say it feels cold and unwelcoming. So, that's great. And since it wouldn't sell, my parents decided to move out early, and it stood empty ever since. Now, my sister and I still had some friends in the area, and since nothing particularly terrifying happened at the house when we still lived there, my sister decided she would crash there on a mattress in the upstairs bedroom after a party with her friends, so she wouldn't have to drive home. Now, keep in mind that my sister is a very hard to scare, down to earth kind of person. But in the middle of that night, my parents got a frantic, actually panicked, terrified phone call from her, saying that she locked herself in the bedroom because there were people downstairs ransacking the place. So she called because she thought there were burglars. She yelled that they were throwing everything out of the cabinets, breaking things, smashing things, and my dad could actually hear some of those banging noises through the phone. Now, that is the point at which he reminded her that there was nothing in the house to ransack or throw, because our house stood empty and abandoned, apart from the mattress that my sister was sleeping on. No books, no vases, no furniture. My sister bolted out of there, no one was there, and the door was still locked. And ever since then, we both refused to even go near the house. Whatever haunts that place prefers to live alone and does not want us back. And that's fine with us. Now, a quick side note, the cats moved out with me. They never, ever have nightly crazy times, ever. So whatever we heard at night, all those thumps and bangs and creaks, were never the cats in the first place. This was my story. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope you play it. Please keep making your ghost videos. They really are the best. Bye.
Thank you so much. What a great story. Let me just do this. That didn't even pop into my head when your sister was hearing all that stuff, like you had moved out, so there was nothing in the house. I was like, yeah, typical ghost throwing stuff around the kitchen. And then it's like, oh, actually, we don't have any belongings in the house. Ooh. That was such a good story. Well, thank you so much to everyone who shared their stories today. I am so grateful. And thank you so much to Jolie Beauty for sponsoring this video and sending me this incredible palette. You know I cannot wait to get my hands on the purples in this palette. I really enjoyed creating this look. I really enjoyed using the palette. It's just nice to have something where everything just works together in harmony. So I'll leave a link to a palette below for you, and I'll also leave a link to an amazing launch video that you can check out as well. Thanks again, everyone. I will see you Wednesday and Sunday and then Monday again. Have an amazing week ahead. I'll see you soon. Bye.